Welcome back to Q Dads. I'm Steve, and episode 4 of Monarch gives us an interesting location, miserable details, and even more Icezilla Titan action. The episode, titled Parallels and Interiors, starts with a desert scene as a new character, Barnes, detects something on old equipment at Outpost 47. What is she out there looking for? And why did none of her fancy equipment pick up the readings, yet old tech did? And I'm pretty sure that tech was unplugged too. We're only teased by this new location as we cut to our group who reside inside an ice cavern. Now, here the episode focuses on the backstory of Kentaro and how he was first introduced to Mei, with Kentaro being a pretentious semi-successful artist. The way they do this, as well as the other scenes later on, indicates to me that we're going to lose one of them. But no, we're just given this backstory, which I somewhat feel is just filler for the episode. Was it really needed, looking back at it now? I think if Mei or Kentaro were to have died, then this would have justified this bit of love story backstory, but it just didn't fit in my opinion. In the ice cavern, Mei falls through a crack, and the ice soaks both of her legs, setting up an hypothermia storyline. As we jump back and forth, I question here if Kentaro is throwing away his career either for Mei or for self-doubt. It's interesting that he meets a girl and within the same time frame isn't that bothered about his art. Also, who is Lyra? She called Mei's phone. I presume this is her sister, and part of me questions if Barnes is Mei's sister, or at least her sister will play an important part in the series. This does make me question if Mei and Kentaro's meeting wasn't by coincidence. Is Mei actually working for another group? Could she have known about Kentaro's family link to Monarch, as she seemed really keen on digitising those files as soon as she could? It would also explain all the secrecy. Kentaro splits from the group in a hunch he saw a building of an outpost maybe. The other three decide to follow the blue light. More on the blue light towards the end. Back to Barnes, and has noticed the readings that are bigger than the events of G-Day before Godzilla emerged. Could this be a new Alpha Titan? Could it be Ghidorah? Or based on the trailer, is it just Godzilla waking up again? Kentaro wanders alone and starts to enter this state where a lot of the time I assumed he was already dead. A subtle detail here is that Mei doesn't trust Lee with the bag. She thinks he's after something. Is this true? And if so, what could he be after? Or again, could this tie back to Mei having ulterior motives? We realise that Icezilla is absorbing heat and is attracted to it as it devours Hiroshi's tent. With this new knowledge in mind, the trio head to the site of the plane crash in preparation to set it all ablaze. Kentaro starts to hallucinate his dad, who leads him to the outpost where ultimately he is able to save the day. A great detail here is when he speaks to his dad and his dad starts to fade away as he returns to reality, the subtitles of what Hiroshi is actually saying also fade away too, which I thought was a fantastic touch. We end the show with Icezilla attacking the group as Kate and Mei flee. Lee sets the place on fire, attracting the monster to the explosion. They are rescued in time by Kentaro, who managed to call up the aid of Monarch, seeing the return of good old Tim. Overall, the episode was okay. Pace was a bit slow compared to the previous episodes, but I think that all stems down to the backstory of Kentaro. Not as interesting compared to Keiko's and Randa's though. I want to touch for a moment on that blue light. This has to be an emergence into Hollow Earth. Is this where Icezilla came from? And also, did Monarch know about this location beforehand? As if they did, I would have expected it to be heavily guarded. Although, this could be down to all the secrets between Lee, Bill and Keiko, as Lee mentions in the episode that the Titans can mess with reality, and that's why they went in circles. He also states that the cloud they passed through is part of it. So, does this imply that actually this part of Alaska is a bit like Skull Island? Are we just on a random island by Alaska? This would then mean that the light is Hollow Earth, and just like what was mentioned in Skull Island, things had started to leak from it. Finally on this point, when in the helicopter, Lee looked at that place with a familiar look. I'm not sure why, but I think it has something to do with Randa's notes. He seemed very annoyed when the laptop was frozen. What is on the laptop? Is it the location of Keiko? or Hollow Earth, or both. I think we'll find out soon enough though, as this is set in 2015. I fully expect May to have a backup or some form of early cloud storage. I do question if the hard drive would be okay anyways, as I'm going to assume a tech-savvy woman like May would be using a solid-state drive, so I'd expect the data to be perfectly fine. Either way, I do think we'll revisit this at some point, and maybe even lure Icezilla down to Hollow Earth. Also, a little Easter egg, for people who watched Godzilla 2014, Monarch mention the Yucca Flats and Janjira, which are the locations of the Mutos from the film. So, if we're getting readings on this level, something big must be about to show its face. I still think Hiroshi is alive, and they have potentially discovered a new Titan. I'm not sure if it's Ghidorah, but I'm hoping it's something we've not seen in a film before, as technically Ghidorah isn't found till 2016, so a year after this is taking place. Let us know your thoughts on the episode. Did you think we were going to see the death of Kentaro or May in this episode? Do you think May is part of a group that is some form of Monarch rival, similar to the group from the King of Monsters film? And finally, do you think that hole is a direct route to Hollow Earth? Join us next week for our cast as we give our opinions on the questions above. And as always, catch you next time with something new.